Chris, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Josh?
Not a whole lot, living the high life.
Awesome.
Brian will be on here shortly. He is not right now. So when he does finally show up, we got to give him a hard time for being late.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, man. I do want to throw it out there for those of you that were watching last time Chris was on here. He was, who am I say this? He was using Mustang 2 level internet. We're talking like 78 Mustang with a 4-banger.
Yep.
And now it appears that we have upgraded him to 5.0.
We tried to put a coyote in it.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. Because last time it was like every third word is like car, cone.
I'm gonna professionally blame Netflix for that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, man. So it's ironic that we bring that up is because that was trouble with the SITREP, connectivity issues, we'll call them.
Yep.
Tonight's topic. Oh, there he is. Brian's on. He makes it.
He's late.
Yeah, he's late, but he makes it. We were just talking about this. You might have missed the first 2 minutes and 21 seconds before we got you on here. We're giving Brian a hard time because he's late.
That's okay.
But then Chris brought up the fact that last time he was here, his internet was not exactly top notch. We refer to it as Mustang 2 internet.
Yep.
Like 78 4-banger.
2.3 Lima powered.
Yeah. Oh man, funny too. My mom had it was a 91 Mustang with a 2.3.
Okay.
And it was a hatch, and that hatch is ungodly heavy.
Oh yeah, they are.
And the freaking the shocks for it went out, and so we used to have this big stick we'd stick in there. If you didn't stick it in right, it wouldn't hold the dang thing up.
Yep.
And if you let that thing slam down, it would kick the fuel safety solenoid, and you'd be done.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be driving. So.
Yep. Got to pull the interior panel out, push the little red button.
Yeah.
Then you're good to go.
The bad thing is too is that there was one time she was putting groceries in the thing at Kroger or someplace.
Yeah.
And this thing slammed down. It would not start. She's sitting there with my 2 younger brothers for like 4 hours. Waiting on my dad to be able to get to her because he worked an hour and some change away. He couldn't just stop everything right then and there. So yeah, it was a rough go round.
Oh,
it was definitely a rough go round, man. But
that actually is a funny story. I had a SVT Contour for a couple of years, and they're notoriously bad for having rockers that rust out. So my buddies and I, cut out the old rockers, welded some new ones in, and somewhere along the line, when we were knocking the old ones out of the pinch weld, we happened to flip that. Couldn't figure out why it wouldn't start. We ended up towing it back to my house with the truck in the door. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? So I'm fiddling around. And then all of a sudden, it clicked on me. And I'm like, I think that's probably a fuel safety shut off. Went back, kicked it on, fired right up like there was no problems.
I know, man. It's freaking frustrating. Ford's the only one I've ever known to use that fuel safety switch.
Yep, they are. I think most other people use it somewhere, in some other way, shape, or form. I don't know how.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. They're the only one I've ever seen with that, man. And it's frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
That old beater, like 82 Chevette. Let me tell you about this. This is a good story, right? The whole car in general is just a bucket. And when I say it was poop brown, it was poop brown. The whole car was poop brown.
Look like a Tootsie Roll?
Yeah. Two-door, 4-speed. My dad gave my brother a windshield for it.
Yeah.
Not a windshield for the car. He traded him a windshield for the car, right? And of course, my brother's like, well, I'm taking the shifter out of it. It had a Budweiser tap shifter that my brother had put in it.
Okay.
Well, he didn't have the shifter. He didn't have the shifter that he took out of it to put this in. So I was like, Dad, how am I going to drive this thing? He's like, till we get you a shifter here. Just use this big long bolt. And he rigged some bolt in it. I was like, look, I think it was like a day or two, but I'm driving one time and the damn bolt come out. I was like, oh no.
Dude.
But I drove the heck out of that car, man, and it didn't have any heat, and I drove it Northern Virginia in the winter, and it had a hand choke. So,
oh man!
And then I took it off road one time and messed up the muffler, so then it sounded like a Harley. And so I'd do that, open that choke, wham, hit it, and it was all loud like 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning going to school, and then I'd keep playing with the gas and the choke, get it to stay running. I'd get out, I'd scrape the ice off the outside of the window. Then I'd get in, I'd scrape the ice off the inside of the window. It always looked like it snowed on the dash.
God.
Oh, and then it didn't have a dipstick. There was no oil dipstick.
Well, it had a dipstick. It was just behind the wheel.
Right. So, and then it leaked oil. The passenger side was darker brown than the rest of the car. Right.
Jeez.
And about every month I just dump a quart of oil in it. And
hey man, you never got to change it then.
No, never. It's self-changing.
Yeah, it was self-changing.
Right. But look, so then one time the I guess the alternator was going out in it, and then the battery cable fell off, and then it would die, right? So, because I was like, oh, that must be somebody, I didn't know anything then, but somebody said, hey, the alternator's going bad. So anyway, I was like, whatever, until it leaves me stranded, whatever. So I just jammed the wire back. I wouldn't even really fix it. I just jammed it back in the connector until it fell out again. But look, one night, about, 8 o'clock at night, I'm going down this old back country road, dark as hell, and I'm just getting it. Wah! And then the cable fell off. When it cut off, the lights and everything cut off, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no. I thought I was going to wreck bad, man. But I tell you what, that car would go anywhere, dude. I drove in the snow. There were trucks to be stuck. I'd be right on by them.
That's awesome.
That's you guys are talking about old buckets. That was a bucket.
That's good stuff, man. So want to say hi to a couple folks that are tuned in watching. We got Hector on board. He is at his daughter's gymnastics deal. I asked him if he's going to be doing back handspring, they call him, and he said no. Gary Hatfield, what up, brother? Reno King's on board, and your awesome wife is on board. Tanya is, and then we got Audrey. She's on board. She's watching, and then a couple other folks. So if you're watching, go ahead and click on, say hi, tell us what's going on. All right, so you talk to my wife about this, and she's gonna tell you all the stories in the world about absolutely losing my mind in the garage, which is awesome that we have the separate shop now, because once it's finished, I can work in my own comfort and peace of losing my mind. And I think I'm gonna get a big anvil out there, and so when I'm getting freaking pissed off, I'm just gonna take a hammer and just start going to town. Rather beat the death out of a car, and then you always break something else happens, and boom, dude, I'll have an anvil. I'll just tink away. Nope. It sounds like someone's working on the railroad. You'll know it's me pissed off at my car. So tonight we're talking about all these frustrations and headaches and everything like that we've encountered while building our friggin' hot rods.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start, and it kind of led to the Camaro being where it is today. And back in 2017, I started really putting some money into the thing, and I had gone through the suspension. I'd gotten the shocks on the thing, and I'd gone through it. I'd put a T56 in it. I was still running on a 305. And at the point, I'm like, you know what? Let me just keep this 305 in here until it dies. And I will run that thing. Johnny Evans, what's up, brother? I'll run this thing until it absolutely dies. So I'd ran that freaking thing hard. When I first put it on the autocross course, I blew the rear diff out of it. The posi, the discs, and the posi, the clutch packs went bye-bye, and it turned into a one-tire fryer. And coming out of the corner, Good Guys Raleigh, and you know how tight that is, Brian. It's a very back-and-forth tight course. Coming out of the corner, I mashed it. It freaking sent that inside tire a spinning and a smoking. That little 305 went up to about 6,500 RPMs. With an HEI, there was nothing to help. There was no rev limiter. There was nothing. And that thing started floating the valves. I got home that night, and it was a ticking like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Pull the valve cover off, and it rocker arm came off of the valve. The valve floated, and it sent it, man. I'm like, dang. So In the process of fixing that, I jacked the front of the car up, and I don't remember what I was doing. I was doing something. I think I was replacing the steering stuff, tie rod ends, drag link, and all that. So I go to jack the car up, and the jack slips, which happens to everybody all the time. However, in this particular occasion, when that jack slipped, it smashed the oil pan, and I'm like, damn. So I continue what I'm doing, lower the car down, go to fire it up, and I start the thing, and crank's scraping the oil pan. Bad, like chick, 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 chick. And it ran long enough for...
cleansed itself?
Oh, yeah. It ran long enough for me to be concerned about what was in that oil pan besides just scrape, scrape, scrape. So
yeah.
I ended up, hey, Chris, your buddy Ben Merkart says hi.
Hi, Ben.
So, yeah, man, it ran long enough like that. And I posted up on the Autocross Junkies, a Facebook group that Brian made.
Yep.
And rest in peace. But Tater Matthews, Jimmy Matthews, hit me up, and he's like, I got a motor for you. And he starts describing this motor, and it's the 383. It's in my car now. And I'm like, you know what? All right, let's do it. So I ended up buying it from him. And 2 months later, I fired the car up for the first time with a new motor in it. And it's been running and rocking and rolling ever since. So yeah, my frustration ended up leading me to spend about $6,000-7,000 and who knows what else on a motor and everything else. So
yeah,
it's too much fun, man. Too much fun. It part of the hobby, I guess, right?
Sure is.
So it's all about.
Yeah, so the reason the 97 actually ended up getting a Coyote was actually very, very similar. So had some small issues because with the factory engine on those, they have a plastic coolant crossover on the intake manifold, and they're known to just crack. Right over time, they get old, it cracks. They replace them with a metal one as you go forward, but that one was cracked. It just cracked, and I was like, well, while I'm pulling that off, I might as well do heads and cams, right? Get a little more power out of this. So I bought a set of heads off a guy on Facebook Marketplace. And I didn't really think too much of it when I went and grabbed them because they had some cam bearings, but I figured that just meant that they were repaired well, right? Well, I come to find out that Ford doesn't do anything with cam bearings. They just sit on that surface, and that is the bearing itself.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Now it's in the head, right? So it's aluminum, but they build it into the actual cam caps. So the thing that actually holds the cam into the head.
Sounds like a Briggs & Stratton freaking lawnmower motor.
I don't know. I mean, they last. So for the most part, it's not a problem.
I mean, my mower's going strong, man.
Yeah, exactly, right? And a mower gets used pretty hard, right? But so we ended up doing that. My buddy was actually over helping me out with the cam swap in the heads when we put them in, and he ended up knocking one of the bearings out of the head. So it falls down into the frame rail, and we dig for it. We can't find it. Nothing good's coming out of this. So we're like, okay, you know what? Let's just call it quits for the day, put the cams back in their boxes, and go from there. Well, a different friend picked the cams up and put them in their boxes, but they had the left cam in the right box and the right cam in the left box. So all of a sudden, when I went to go put them back on, once I bought new bearings, they were on opposite heads. So I went to go crank it over, and I'm cranking it over by hand at that point just to see how the timing was lining up. Yeah. And I got to a hard point, and at this point, I don't know, I was maybe 21, 22, and I was like, why is it stuck? Not really putting a whole lot of thought process into why it's stuck. So I just strong arm that thing and snap a valve right off. And I thought about it for a whole 2 seconds, but at that point, I decided I'm putting a Coyote in the damn thing at that point.
Oh, man. That's one of those moments, too. You're like, what just happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And that whatever it's going to take to fix it is far more than whatever you were just doing.
Yep. And it just hit that one hard point, and I was like, it'll be fine, right? It's just something slightly catching. And just add more pressure till boom, the valve just completely snapped off.
Dude. Well, I mean, sometimes you just can't look back.
Nope. And look, I ended up tripling my horsepower instead of just getting an extra 100. So, it was worth it. It was worth it.
No, most definitely, man. God, that's so frustrating.
It was.
That is frustrating. Brian, what about you, man? What's been that one key moment?
Oh, well, so when I got the LS and I put it in, and I changed the cam, and of course I went from a single bolt to a 3-bolt cam. And of course, the deal, you change the cam, you just basically throw all the timing stuff off of it and everything.
Yeah.
Right? So I never really set timing before, so I'm watching videos. I set timing. I put everything back like I should. Boom, button it all back up and put all the drive accessories back on it. Water pump, the whole nine. And then put everything on it to try to crank it, and it's cranking and popping and backfiring and sounding like it's out of time. And I was like, gosh, all right, let me do this again. So I tear it all back down the front of the motor, redo the timing, and then
I'm pretty sure you called me at some point in time, and I came over
and
helped you do this at least once.
I double checked the timing. Well, you put it on
at least once.
You put it on the computer, and I think after the second time of not being able to get it to start after checking the timing, you came over and put a computer on it, and then I might have checked the timing once more. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, and one guy's like, "Oh, these motors, some old local boy, he's like, oh, these motors, they require a lot of grounding. Got to have good solid grounds."
You
right?
have like 7 grounds on that thing.
and at one point I did, right? I mean, I think I had it plugged into the house to get a good ground. I don't know. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Brian was out there with that piece of copper friggin' wire friggin' pounded into the grass, connected to the
like a 5K generator, right? I couldn't get it start, man. And so it was so frustrating. And of course, I didn't know, man. I had pulled I had done a trunnion upgrade, so I had pulled the coil packs off of it. I had the harness reworked so I could put it on it. So I just slapped it on there. I was like, all right, this connection to this injector, this connection to this injector, bing, bang, boom, right? Boom, tuck it all away, nice.
Bing, bang, boom. Speaking of bing, bang, where's bing bong?
Yeah, neither one of those fools are. So, anyway, to make a long story even longer,
Short story long.
To make a short story long, Tim McGilton calls me at like 9 o'clock one night. Hey, I've been thinking. Any chance those wires are backwards? I'm like, what wires? He's like, for the injectors. I'm like, shit, I don't know. I was like, do they have a side? I don't know. And he's like, oh, yeah. He said, the injector's got to be, it's got to be lined up just right. So I'm like, all right, 9 o'clock at night, I'm out there not planning on it. I think I'd already showered and was kind of done with it. But anyway, I get out there and I'm flopping wires around, this, that, and the other. Man, as soon as I hit the starter, wham! It fired right up.
So,
yep.
Oh, man.
It was 8 connections in the wrong spot. Well, 4 on this side, 4 on this side. I went, whoop! And it started right up. Oh, I was so frustrated. I was like, well, at least it wasn't nothing serious. But it started right up. And that was frustrating. That was several days of working on that thing. And it took about 3 minutes to switch the wires around. In hindsight, what I've done, I ended up taking that harness and just doing this, kind of flipping it upside down.
Yep.
So
in hindsight, I think all I had to do was switch the coil packs from one side to the other.
Maybe. So
yeah.
Interesting. I had a very similar to that. So freaking, oh man, Hector gives us a.
Oh, I thought he said installing it. That said a diode. I thought that said dildo.
Hector. Wow. All right, installing a diode to turn off the airbag light after replacing the driver's seat resulted in a full wiring harness nightmare. Decided to go work on it after a couple of beers and ended up cutting a wire for the CAN bus. Didn't realize what I'd done until I woke up in the morning and saw the mess of wires, and it was like for the lose. What have I done? I took 2 weeks of reading schematics and cutting and splicing wires. Dude, that's rough. Oh. That is rough. Val says we've all had those days. And yeah, very true. Very true. So, God, back in 2018, I was looking at it was an 87 K20 square body, Chevy truck. This thing was sweet. Audrey and I, my wife and I, flew into Nashville to go take a look at this thing. She had a job interview, and I went to go look at this truck. Went and drove it. Everything was good. We're getting ready to. We're gonna drive it back to North Carolina. So we got one-way flights. So we go to drive this thing back to North Carolina, and it drove fine on the back roads. I never went over 45 though. So I get on the interstate, and this thing's pinging like there's no tomorrow. I'm talking like pinging to the point I feel like I'm gonna freaking crack a ring landing and melt a piston. And so I called the guy I bought it from. I'm like, dude, I don't know what the deal is, man. I already paid him for it. I already got the title and everything. I'm like, I'm not trying to take it back or anything. Yeah. I need to figure this out, though. So he's like, well, man, we can take a look, see what we figure. And we couldn't figure anything out. And we ran out of time. So we ended up, I had to get back to work. And we had at this point, like, we can't pay for flights. They're going to be $500 to try to catch a flight tonight. So we rented a Mitsubishi Mirage. All right, a Mitsubishi Mirage. And if you have seen one of the new versions of a Mitsubishi Mirage, think Chevy Aveo, Toyota Yaris type of car. It is a tiny little clunk. It feels like a death trap. It will be your permanent coffin because if you crash that car and die, you are not getting pulled out of it. You will become part of it. So we drove back through the night to get back to North Carolina in this freaking car. And then 2 weeks later, we come back up. I go to get this truck. And I bring all my tools up, timing lights, all this other stuff. And I start looking through this truck, and I'm trying to diagnose it, and I'm pulling plugs and checking all this stuff. And finally, I put the timing light on it. Last thing I do. I've been working on this truck for 3 hours, and I could not figure out what the deal was. Put the timing light on it, and whoever put that motor in had the timing at 55 degrees advance. And that's an estimate. Because the freaking harmonic balancer went into like 30, and then there was no more numbers. But based on the distance, I'm estimating it was at about 55 degrees advance.
I was going to say, is it supposed to be like 30, 32 or something?
Well, on that, it was a TBI. It was a throttle body injected truck. So you're supposed to set it at dead zero. Computer controls the rest. This thing was so cranked that it had no timing control at this point anymore.
Jeez.
I don't even know how it ran. So the guy that I bought the truck from, he's helped me out. I'm like, all right, man, just keep turning the freaking distributor. And after he turned that thing, about 2 wires off, it finally got right. And here's what's nuts, man, is
can't get right.
I moved the wires one over on the cap, and it still didn't run right. It was just running like crap. So that's when we threw the timing light on there. So I am amazed that it even ran. Nick Barnett just says he's surprised it started. I'm like, I am too, man. It boggled my mind. But what was so frustrating is I spent like 4 hours plus 2 flights on this damn truck. And the reality of it is, if I'd have just went back to the very basics of a freaking old school motor with a distributor, we would have probably had it figured out in 15 minutes. But you know how it is, man. It's like, let me overthink everything and turn it into this massive problem.
Yep. That's how that always goes.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely frustrating, but whatever. You do what you do, right? That's how we learn. That's how we get to where we are today, man. And now we're building sweet race cars and
exactly
doing awesome things. Brian's sitting there with a big giant love on his chest.
It says, "I love my wife." It looks like it says, "I love my wife," but inside of it says, "When my wife lets me buy car parts."
Nice. I can support that.
Yep.
Freaking so yeah, man, that's the good times of building hot rods, the frustrations that come with it. It's funny. My wife, she's got a video of me working on, it was her car at the time. She had bought her car in high school was a Mitsubishi Lancer, and she still had it when we got together. I think I had like 180,000 miles on it. When we moved to Tennessee, I had her loaded up on the trailer, and I remember this because a buddy of mine was helping, and it was one of those dollies from U-Haul, and how it's got that giant lip that you really got to you got to feather it, but you got to goose it to get the damn car up over. And she's giving a little bit of gas, and it's not going, and finally I'm like, just go. So she goes, and my buddy's like, whoa, watch it, Fast and Furious. And she gets up on the thing, and we got it on the car, but when I pulled the car off of this dolly, I don't know what I did, but I broke part of the front fascia off of this thing. So it had part of the ground effects kit on these old Lancers. On each side, it had basically a piece of the fascia that bolted to, but it ripped those bolts out. So I'm over there with some epoxy trying to get this damn thing to hook up. And the epoxy's leaking all over me, and I'm holding it, and I'm like trying to get a jack stand and a bunch of little weights to hold the thing in place so I can move on to something else. Well, she was standing up on the steps of our old house. I didn't realize she was there, but I'm over there freaking beep, 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 just letting them fly, sitting there losing my freaking mind trying to put this damn car back together, man. Yeah, man, it's one of those things. It's like, I need to be working on a car to lose my mind so that I'm not pissed off at everything else in life, you know?
Yep. I could not agree more.
Yeah. Let me go rage at inanimate objects.
Josh, how dead set is your trip to Bragg?
100%, man. I'll get all my travel stuff. Probably knock that up tomorrow or first of next week. So.
Okay, because I can cancel my flight and then get e-credit. So that's just fine.
Nice. All right, yeah. So man, we're all coming to PRI. So yeah, actually, we'll talk about this because we're all going to be there. Myself, Brian, Chris, Tim is going to be there, and then yeah, I'll be talking about that. Her car, she ran that bitch into the ground. She no shit did. Had an old CVT transmission that had overheated once or twice. I tried flushing the fluid out, and it's still the belt or whatever was worn out.
Yep.
We drove it for 2 days after I flushed the fluid out. I reset everything in the computer, and the freaking thing popped another over temp code. I'm like, man. So we sold that friggin' hot rod.
Yep.
But no, so Tim's going to be there. Chris, you're going to be there. Brian and I will be there at PRI. Junior will also be there, as well as Mark Gullivan. Hector, if you're still on, man, what's the scoop? You going to be able to make PRI? If so, we need to get you set up for registration. We've got an Airbnb set up. But I got to go down to North Carolina for some stuff. And then Brian and I are actually going to link up and drive to Indianapolis from North Carolina. So
what are we driving?
It's going to be my truck because I'm picking up the lift that day.
Nice.
At the warehouse in Indianapolis. So I'll be with trailer in tow.
Sweet.
Oh, okay.
Tim and I are driving out together. I don't know what he got as the rental, but I'm going to drive out to him, and then we're just going to jump in the same car and go from there. So it should be fun.
I hope he got something sweet as the rental.
I highly doubt it.
I just looked. It's almost 11 hours. Well,
yeah.
I can fly. Be there in like 2.
Yeah.
Hey, whoa. You wouldn't have my company, though. All right.
It'll probably, I don't even know how long it'll be for Tim and I. Probably from his house, probably like 8 or 9 would be my guess.
Yeah.
I think for you, it's about 7.
Might be. I'm not sure.
I think it took us from Hagerstown, it took us like 7 to get into like Indianapolis when we go out to Montana. So
we'll take a look.
Montana. But yeah, that'll be good times, man. We'll be up there. We are sponsoring the engine build, which is going to be an awesome deal. 7.3 Godzilla twin turbo.
It's huge.
So we'll have to keep Chris. Unfortunately, since you're part of our team, you are not eligible to register.
Yep.
I'm sorry for you. But hey, man, it just happens that OSS is a Ford Performance dealer, so we can definitely get you set up with a Ford Performance Godzilla.
7.3, should I need one? Yeah. It's 8 hours and 41 minutes from, I don't know if it's
8 hours and 41 minutes.
So, and then but going to Tim, that'll probably cut off 3 of that. So from Tim's house, probably pretty close.
Hector's crying that he can't make it. It's okay, Hector. We will party on. We will party on.
It's time to retire, Hector.
Time to retire. Hector just, if he hasn't re-enlisted yet, he is in the next few days, or maybe
enlisted.
Oh yeah, he's adding that time in. Hector, if I let the cat out of the bag, I wasn't supposed to. My apologies.
So
I swear I'm so
like barely over 10 years. Good grief.
But yeah, man, freaking, it should be definitely a good time. Let's see. He just posted again. He's laughing.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a bunch of people there that we usually go 8 months or so without seeing, and so it'll be good to see, like the folks of UMI.
Yeah, Turn One's going to be there.
Yeah, the folks of Forge Line, I'm sure they'll be there, and Viking and all of those guys. So I
think Tom and Val are going to be there. Tom and Val Pichette with Dragon Lady GTA. Mark Gullivan's going to be there, part of the OG race team. I talked to Chad Reynolds earlier. He's going to be there. So
JB Boyer will be there. I think
Showtime's coming.
Showtime will be there. I think.
Man.
Yeah, I think Kenny Edwards is going to be there as well.
Good, man. Good. Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I know the Farringtons will be there. They're also they're awesome people. They had Tom's hot rod in the Turn One booth last year, so it'll be good to see him again.
Yeah. We got dinner Friday night at the Farringtons, right?
I think so. I think they did send that out. So the other thing that we've got cooking. I missed my train of thought, man. Give me a moment. I'm losing it. I might be getting. I made fun of somebody for being old earlier today, and I lost it. I think it's my own fault. But no, it'll be good. We'll be up there in full force and hanging out, seeing what's going on with the engine build, and rocking and rolling with that. So I think, dementia. I think, I'm excited about getting up there. Be there for 3 days, so it'll be a good time. We have not confirmed whether Jeff Gordon will be joining us or not. Tim is trying to figure out what his plans are. And either way, man, I'm excited about this. And then from there, we'll hit the winter build season, and then get ready to start rocking and rolling. And then we'll have more Crazy Fest stories to start telling about. Hey, look, JB just popped on. JB, Showtime. We're just talking about you. But
not in a good way either. Not in a good way.
No, but we'll have more stories to share. Interesting enough, last week when we were doing the SITREP, we were talking about what were we talking about last week? Man, these things. It's been a week, so to me it feels like it's been a year. But last week on SITREP, Audrey and I were on, and we were kind of just talking about the year and the things that we've done with Clarksville Autocross. And I want to say Tim had posted up something about something that happened that was frustrating. Oh, that he was having an actual meltdown when we were at the Camaro Fest because it was like 105 degrees that day. It was ridiculously hot. And so Audrey brought up the fact that we need to talk meltdowns and meltdowns in motorsports. And so we thus bring up the idea of us talking our frustrations in the garage, working on our cars, and bringing up our headaches and things like that. So it's one of those things that if you are not into cars, you will never understand it.
Yep.
You just won't.
Well, I got a good headache being frustrated. It's earlier last year, probably around March. Yeah. Tanya decided, I didn't think I was going to get to go hunting. And so Tanya said, well, we got the money, so let's, it's just about, one of us said something about going to Vegas. And I've never been to Vegas. So we booked this, we researched it, checked all these places out. I booked this 5-day stay in Vegas. I was all excited. Yeah. And then I went out into the garage and started messing around with the car and opened the passenger door, and it binded on the fender. And I was like, that ain't right. And I just had some modifications done to the frame to.
Oh, I remember this.
And it dawned on me immediately that the whole frame had bent and twisted up front. And literally within an hour of booking a trip to Vegas, I canceled the whole thing and bought a frame.
I remember that. You went over to Calvin's place to do the subframe swap on that thing.
I did, yeah. I got the frame in from Heights on a Wednesday, and I still had to do some welding on it. Like I had to weld the tabs on for the links for the arms of the sway bar, and then I had to paint those. And literally, I pushed the car in there on I think Tuesday. The frame came in Wednesday. And I got to working a little bit that night, but then Thursday, I was over there till probably midnight, back over there early Friday. Calvin would come over and help me when he got off from the dealership, and I drove that car out of there with a new frame under it on Monday.
Wow.
That's a turnaround.
I took it, and I unbolted everything, and then funny car just, the car, lifted the whole car up, leaving the frame, engine, wheels, the whole front crate, everything, and then rolled it out, did the swap, and put it back in. Actually had to build subframe connectors for it and everything because didn't have that. So yeah, that was a job all weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and but it was good to go after that.
That's freaking crazy, man. So, bring it up the December 12th. So I just locked everything in literally seconds before we started SITREP tonight. But December 12th SITREP, awesome show. We've got 2 awesome guests that are going to bring on. The theme for that night is going to be build it right versus get it on the road. So we're going to talk the pros and cons of whether you take your time, and if it takes you 2 years, it takes you 2 years to build it right and it's done. Or we're going to talk the idea of, hey, build a little bit at a time and get that thing on the road and go enjoy the car. We've got some interesting perspective. 2 guests that we're going to have on. We've got Matt Burney, one of our OGs, a.k.a. Garage Engineer. And we've got the one and only Chad Reynolds. Chad is no stranger to the game, and he has been in the industry for a very long time. He's built some awesome hot rods himself.
Oh yeah.
And so we'll have both them on. We'll kind of talk the idea between these things, and kind of see where that discussion lets us go. But we're really excited about that. That one's going to be December 12th. So make sure we hop on for that. And then the next SITREP next week, what are we looking at? Next week will be our post Thanksgiving, and then on December 5th, I'll be in North Carolina for that one. So yeah, we'll have some awesome shows for you guys to
side by side right here.
Yeah, man, side by side. Save me a spot. Let me get a little bit of that scruff. Yeah. So, couple things though I want to throw out there real quick before we hop off. We are in full force for our Thanksgiving Black Friday offers. And we just got a new note in from MW Company. There are certain truck wheels. There's 6 different truck wheels that they have now even cut more off of. So if you're interested in truck wheels, call us. We got 75% off on certain lines of truck wheels. So hit us up on that. It's only what's in stock and the sales final, so there are no returns on any of those. But if we happen to have something that we can get you in that, hit us up, because 75% off, you'll probably never see it again. On top of that, we are offering 15% off Forge Line wheels. And Forge Lines are custom built to order, so give us a call on that. Forge Lines, 15% off. And then in addition to the Forge Line offer, we also have 10% off UMI. And then we are working through, and we will have some stuff that we can post, that we'll post up Friday, that we'll be discounting as well. So hit us up for what you guys need. We'll get you guys set up. Thank you for tuning in and watching. And happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah. Same to you, brother.
I'll throw this out here. I'm thankful for each and every one of you, and then for those of you that are watching, and those of you that will watch later that you're not on right now. thank you for being here and helping support what we're trying to do here and how we're building this thing up. It's exciting to see, and it's been a lot of fun. So
Sure
thanks.
has.
You guys, Brian, Chris, always a pleasure.
Oh yeah.
Chris, I am happy that we now have a nice, clear, full picture. You can tell Kristen that Netflix is back on in about 30 seconds.
Yep, that's what I'm going to let her know. I'm going to let her know Netflix is back on.
Tell her we appreciate the pause.
The hiatus. Yes. Yeah.
The pause, literally. Those that don't know, Chris is the friend of the felines and the furry dogs. So he's got a few. So.
Oh yeah.
So it was your dogs that was barking and not your dogs.
No, that was definitely my dog. That was the Australian cattle dog German Shepherd mix going crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Ours are chilling by the couch right now, so
that'd be great.
Yeah. It's the only time they've been chilling. I don't even know how Audrey got them to chill because normally they're going crazy when they're in the house. I mean, you can hear them stampeding across the dang kitchen floor. So
sounds about right.
We're right on, guys. All right. Thank you again for joining in. Looking forward to seeing you guys again in the future. We'll be back on next Monday.
For sure.
Awesome,
Take it easy, guys.
See you, brother.
See you guys.